So in our previous class, we have discussed about intersection and the main basic principle of the intersection. That is the in design consideration. Your main design consideration for intersection should be your conflict points should be minimum as possible. Now, in this way or in this consideration, what are these conflict points? Conflict points are the different points where there is a chances of accidents or where there is a chances of collision or interaction between different type of vehicles. Let me give one example to make you understand that conflict points. Now, suppose this is an intersection. Okay. Now, in this intersection, some of the vehicles are going in this direction. Some of the vehicles are coming in this direction. Similarly, for this intersection leg also, similar things happens. Okay. So basically, these 4 points are your conflict points. Okay. And these 4 conflict points are the crossing conflict or major conflict points. Okay. Now, beside this conflict point, there are other types of conflict point. Suppose for this intersection leg, let me try another thing. For this intersection leg, some of the vehicles may go in this way. Okay. Some of the vehicles may go in this way. Okay. Now see over here. Here this 2 makes the crossing conflict point, but here it deviate from this original traffic and merge with this another traffic. Okay. So it is merging with another stream. So basically that particular point is called merging conflict point. And here it is diverging from an existing traffic and it is merging to another point. Therefore, this particular point is called diverging conflict point. So basically, this is the basic of the conflict points. Now, in this regard, there are different conflict points. So these are the conflict points. So first conflict point is your merging conflict point, where the traffic will merge with one stream of the traffic will merge with another stream. Okay. So here your angle that angle formed by the two traffic stream would be minimum. So this type of merging conflict point is minor conflict point basically. Then again, diverging conflict point, here also your angle is very much lesser. So this type of conflict point is also minor conflict point. Now this crossing conflict is basically these are the major type of conflict, and this is called waving conflict. Okay, so suppose one particular vehicle is going for the right turn and another stream is going to the another direction, and one conflict point is generated and which is like a crossing conflict point. So basically that type of conflict is called waving conflict point. And waving conflict point occurs when vehicles cross path by first merging and then diverging. So here that vehicles will first diverge then merge, or first merge then diverge. So these are the 4 conflict points. So your main aim for your intersection design would be convert all this crossing conflict and waving conflict to your merging conflict or diverging conflict points. Now, let us go for this example. So in this example, you can see, so these are the traffic stream. This is a 3-legged intersection. And whether that is a flared or plane intersection, it is a plane intersection, 3-legged intersection. And this is a uncontrolled at-grade intersection. Okay. So this is the characteristics of the intersection. Now here, these vehicles are moving in this direction. This is coming in that direction. Here some left turning vehicles are there, and from here left turning vehicles are there, and from there right turning vehicles are there. So what are the different conflict point? Now see this point here, all these vehicle traffic streams are crossing each other. So these 3 points are basically your crossing conflict point. Now here this traffic will diverge and march to another conflict point. So these lines or these yellow markings are your diverging conflict points. So what is the number of diverging conflict points? 3. And here also 3 merging conflict point is there, because the vehicle which will diverge, that will merge to another point, so there would be merging conflict point. So basically in general, your merging conflict point would be equal to your diverging conflict point. Okay, so this is all about your at-grade intersection, unchannelized at-grade intersection. Now, what is the use of this channelization? Channelization means you will provide some divisional island or some channelizing island to channel the traffic movement, or to control the movement of the traffic. So basically, main function of this channelization is to reduce the crossing conflict. Okay, so how we can reduce that conflict points? So you have seen the example for a three-lane intersection which was unchannelized. Now provide some channelizing island over there, some channelizing island and some divisional island over there, and now see how this conflict point is reduced. Now see here, traffic streams are moving in this direction. They are moving in the left direction, and one traffic stream would be in that direction. So here see, your number of your conflict point would be reduced. How it is reduced? Let me show you. Here also similar condition exists. Okay, now see here, one central island is there. So whenever a vehicle is moving, so how it will move? It will go like that, then go around this, and then cross over there. Okay, now whenever another vehicle, uh, which was initially it was a conflict point, crossing conflict point, now how it will act? It will merge over there. Okay, now if it wants to go, or if it wants to merge over there, in that case how it will happen? So it will initially merge over there, then diverge from there, then merge over there. So see here, you are reducing your crossing conflict point, or you are converting your crossing conflict point with merging and diverging conflict point. So in this way, you are reducing the total number of major conflict points. So what are the advantages of this uh, channelization? So vehicles can be confined to a defined path. So you can force the vehicles to move in a particular path as per your design of the intersection. The channelizing island provides proper place for installation of signs and other traffic control devices. So here you can install different traffic signs, or traffic light post, or traffic signals, etc. And refuse island can be provided for pedestrian within the intersection area. So basically in this area, or in this traffic stream, that pedestrian, which or whoever is intended to cross a particular section of the road, they can initially they can cross this portion, and they can take rest over there and see the opportunity to cross the next portion. So basically that channelizing island could be used as a refuge for the traffic pedestrians. Now, most important thing is here, both the major and minor conflict areas within intersection is greatly reduced, and your major conflict points, most of the major conflict point is converted to crossing, or merging or diverging conflict points. Then angle between desired stream of traffic can be kept as desired in a favorable way. So whatever angle is there for the merging and diverging, by design of that intersection, you can keep it in control. You can increase it or you can decrease it. Then angle of merging stream can be forced to be at flat angles to cause minimum disruption. So whenever a merging conflict is generated, you can make that conflict angle to be as minimum, so that impact of that traffic stream merging over another traffic stream would be minimum, and you can control the speed of the vehicles in the traffic intersection area. Now, some of the basic terminology used at great intersection are, first one is uncontrolled junction. So in the uncontrolled junction, there will be nothing, there will be no traffic signals, there would be no channelizing island, there would be no divisional island. That would be a simple island, simple point where two roads cross with each other. So there would be no control point. So this is called uncontrolled junction. Then priority junction. So priority junction is there where two roads of different priorities will meet with each other. Different priorities means, suppose one major road is there, major arterial is there, and another sub-arterial or some village road or some collector street is there, and they are marching or they are at a particular point. And now that intersection formed by these two priority-based roads are called priority junction. So basically, that type of junction may be uncontrolled, may be controlled. Then space sharing junction. So here traffic streams share space at the same time and suitable for 3 or 4 highways meeting at the intersection with nearly equal traffic. So basically the example for this space sharing junction is nothing but your rotary intersection. So in the rotary intersection there will be one central island or central rounded island where the vehicles from different traffic stream will be forced to round that particular island. Okay, so in this way all these vehicles from different traffic stream will be sharing at a similar place or a same place. So for this reason this type of junction is called space sharing junction. Then time sharing junction. Time sharing junction is traffic signals which is controlled by the time or time interval.
Okay.
Now, whatever we learned, that was your at-grade intersection. Now, let us learn about grade separated intersection. So, this grade separated intersection is the most expansive type of intersection. Most expansive type of intersection because here the construction cost associated with the grade separated intersection would be huge because of the huge structure which is needed to support the grade separated intersection. Now, where these grade separated intersections are required, so in your practical field, you must have seen in the Guwahati area also that your major intersection like Ganeshguri area or your Bhangagad area, that particular area where the traffic streams are very much high or traffic volumes are very much high, which cannot be controlled by a grade intersection. In that cases, your grade separated intersections are provided. And your grade separated intersection in the other type of intersection, what happens? Your speed of the vehicles will be forced to reduce, or speed of the traffic stream would be reduced. Therefore, it will cause queue or delay to the vehicles. But in the grade separated intersections, this speed reduction can be averted and the vehicles can move with the desired speed. Now, where this is necessary, where the traffic volume is maximum, which cannot be covered by the at-grade intersection. At-grade intersection which reach its maximum limit. Suppose one roundabout is there, but now it uh, cannot control the existing traffic over there. suppose for 6 mile area, in the 6 mile area, you can see that in the below that overbridge, one roundabout is there, but that roundabout is not efficiently or cannot efficiently control the traffic. Therefore, one overbridge is was built over there. So basically, that is a combination of at-grade intersection and grade separated intersection. At location of bad accidents history when functioning as a grade at-grade intersection. Suppose one at-grade intersection is there and there are different black spots are there and for which accident happens. So these are the different location which you can consider to be upgraded to be grade separated intersection. At junction where the traffic volume is heavy and it is more economic to provide grade separator compared to the delays and loss due to the providing the at-grade intersection. So here, suppose your traffic volume is very much high, and to operate that intersection, there are different delays and queue formed by the vehicles is huge. Okay, and to minimize the traffic congestion, you need huge time. Suppose one traffic congestion occurs and you need 1 hour time to dissipate the traffic congestion. So in such type of situation, you can provide grade separated intersection. Now, what are the different types of grade separated intersection? These are the different types. One is three-leg design. This is three-leg design. Okay, so basically in this portion is grade separated. Okay, here this traffic stream would be going in that upward direction. Okay, so basically this portion is the lower portion and this portion is the at-grade intersection. Then this is four-leg design. This is four-leg design. So here your right angle or right turning vehicles are converted or they are moving in that grade separated one. Okay, this is ramp in one quadrant. Okay, basically these are the four quadrant. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the four quadrant. Here ramp is provided or grade separation is provided at the one quadrant. So therefore, it is called ramps in one quadrant. This is called diamond interchange. So these are the diamond interchange. So basically, this particular portion of the road would be above the elevation of that particular portion of the road would be above than that below portion. Okay, and using these ramps, you can go into that particular elevated road section. And this particular portion is called clover leaf. Okay, this is a four-leg intersection, and here there would be no crossing or waving conflict point. All this crossing and waving conflict points is transferred to your merging or diverging conflict point. Then this is a rotary design for that grade separated intersection. Now, our special type of intersection at-grade intersection is there, and that is called rotary intersection. Okay, so in the rotary intersection, all the crossing conflicts are converted to merging and diverging conflict points, and the vehicles are forced to reduce their speed in the roundabout portion. So basically, this is the main function of the rotary intersection. Now, when rotary intersection is more economical or more functional, when two or more roads with same priority will meet at nearly 90-degree angles with each other. In that case, you can provide the rotary intersection. And this rotary intersection, and one major disadvantage of that rotary intersection is there That is, it required more space to build up that area for that intersection. So these are the some of the advantages of the rotary intersection. One is traffic flow is regulated to only one direction of movement, thus eliminating severe conflicts between crossing movements. So you are eliminating all the crossing conflict points because all of your traffic flows are forced to move into a single direction, and that direction is you have to go around that roundabout. So all the vehicles entering the rotary are gently forced to reduce the speed and continue to move at slower speed. So basically that is one advantage, that all the vehicles which are coming to the rotary intersection, they are forced to reduce their speed. So basically the design of the rotary intersection is such that you have to reduce your speed whenever you are trying to cross one rotary intersection. Now another in this advantage, one disadvantage is there whenever the vehicles are leaving that intersection. In such cases, their speed is increased. Okay, so that would be a disadvantage when there is a huge number of pedestrian volume in that particular intersection. So because of this lower speed, severe accident could be averted. Then rotaries are self-governing, and a sufficient or an efficient rotary intersection doesn't require any intervention from the traffic police. They are ideally suited for moderate traffic, especially with irregular geometry or intersection with more than 3 or 4 approaches. Now, whenever you might have seen that in some of the cases, your rotary intersection might require some of the intervention of the traffic police. In that case, it is well known that that rotary intersection is not efficiently working over there. Okay, so whatever traffic volume is over there, that is more than the capacity of the rotary intersection. Therefore, it requires intervention from the traffic police to control the traffic over there. Now there are some guidelines when you can provide the rotary intersection, or in simple, or in other words, these are called warrants for the rotary intersection. So these are rotaries are suitable when the traffic entering from the all the four approaches are relatively equal. So which we have already discussed, that when two or more roads meet with each other of equal priority. Equal priority means traffic from all these roads would be nearly equal. A total volume of about 3,000 vehicles per hour can be considered as the upper limiting case, and a volume of 500 vehicles per hour is the lower limit case. So basically, if you observe your traffic volume as 500 vehicles per hour or more, in that case, you can consider to upgrade your intersection to rotary intersection. But as soon as it reaches to 3,000 vehicle per hour, in that case, you cannot go for the rotary intersection. You have to go for other type of intersection like grade separated intersection or some signalized intersection like that. A rotary is very beneficial when the proportion of the right turn traffic is very high, typically if it is more than 30%. So if by the traffic volume study, you have to find out whether what is the amount or what is the total percentage of right turning vehicles. After finding out the right turning vehicles, if you found that it is more than 30%, in that case you can suggest for a rotary intersection. Rotaries are suitable when there are more than 4 approaches, or if there is no separate lanes available for the right turning traffic. So if there are a huge number of right turning traffic, in that case you can go for the rotary intersection. And rotary intersection can be suited when the intersection geometry is complex. Now there are different design elements. There are different design elements which are required for the rotary design. So first one is the design speed, then radius and entry and exit, the central island, waving length and width, entry and exit width, and in addition, the capacity of the rotary can also be determined by using some empirical formula. So these are the different things. This is the exit radius. Exit radius, suppose you are entering through this lane. In that case, you are exiting over there. So in that case, this particular portion is called your exit radius, and this is called your entry radius. And your this particular portion, that is from one channelizing island to another channelizing island, that total length is called your waving length, and this is called your entry width. Okay, entry width, and this is called your exit width of that rotary intersection. Then this is the radius of your central island. Then this is the approach width. So basically this is your exit width and this is approach width. After that when at the starting point of your channelizing island, that particular portion is your approach width, and this particular portion is give way line, and this is circulation width. Okay, that is how much width is available for the vehicle to circle around that roundabout. So these are the splitter island or divisional island, and this is the radius of the central island, and this is waving width. Okay, this particular portion is waving width. So this is different portions of the rotary intersection. Now for the design speed, in the normal practice, it is to keep the design speed as 30 and 40 kilometers per hour for urban and rural areas. So whenever you are designing a rotary intersection, your design speed consideration for the urban area would be 30 kilometers per hour, and for the rural area, it would be 40 kilometers per hour. Now, entry and exit width and central island radius. So the radius at the entry depends on the various factors like design speed, super elevation, and coefficient of the friction. And the entry to the rotor is not straight, but a small curvature is introduced in the entry portion. Therefore, it is called your entry curve, and this will force the driver to reduce the speed as you introducing one curve, and their super elevation and coefficient of frictional factors will be there. Therefore, it will reduce the speed of the vehicles. Now, the speed range of about 20 to 25 kilometer per hour is ideal for an urban and rural design respectively. So, okay, so these values are given in the IRC manual. So from that manual, that value has been found out that the speed range of about 20 to 25 kilometer per hour is ideal for that entry portion. Now the exit radius should be higher than the entry radius. So whatever entry radius is there, your exit radius should be higher so that the vehicle can achieve more speed whenever they are exiting from the rotary island. So in general practice, it is to keep the exit radius as 1.5 to 2 times of the entry radius. Suppose your entry radius is 50 meter. In that case, your exit radius, ideally your exit radius should be 100 meters, so that it is done so that whenever the vehicle is exiting the rotary, their speed could be increased. Now, however, if pedestrian movement is higher at the exit approach, then the exit radius would be kept as similar as the entry radius. So if you are keeping the exit and entry radius equal, in that case, the speed of the vehicle at the exit point would not be exceeded than the design speed. So in that case, it would be better for the case when there is large number of pedestrians in the exit portion. Now the radius of the central island is governed by the design speed and the radius of the entry curve. So how much design speed you want to consider over there? So that could be a governing factor in designing your radius of the central curve. Now the radius of the central island in practice is given a slightly higher reading so that the movement of the traffic already in the rotary will have priority of the movement. So that radius of the central island should be slightly higher than the entry portion, so that whenever a vehicle is already in the rotary that achieves slightly higher speed than the vehicles which are uh, at that particular moment entering the rotaries. In that way, the vehicles which enter the rotary in the first place, they can exit the rotary in the first place. So that is called priority of the movement. And the radius of the central island is kept generally 1.3 times that of the entry curve, and that is adequate for all practical purposes. Then width of the rotary intersection. So the entry width and exit width of the rotary is governed by the traffic entering and leaving the intersection. So if the traffic entering and leaving the intersection is higher, in that case, entry and exit width should be high. The width of the carriageway at entry and exit will be lower than the width of the carriageway at the approaches to enable reduction of the speed. And IRC suggests that a two-lane road of 7-meter width should be kept as 7 meter for urban roads and 6.5 meter for rural roads. That is the width of the entry and exit portion. Further, a three-lane roads of 10.5 meter is to be reduced to 7 meter and 7.5 meter respectively for the urban and rural roads. So whatever width of that existing road is there, you are reducing the entry width basically to reduce the speed of the vehicles which are entering the rotary intersection. Now the waving width of the waving or waving width is given as E1 plus E2 divided by 2, where E1 and E2 is the width of the entry or width of the carriageway at the entry and exit. Then waving length determines how smoothly the traffic can merge and diverge. If your waving length is more, in that case, the traffic can be more easily merge and diverge. And if it is low, in that case, there that angle of merging or conflict would be higher. Now, this can be best achieved by making the ratio of waving length to the waving width very high. If you make the waving length to the waving width very high, in that case, you can achieve a flatter angle of conflict, and a ratio of 4 of the waving width to the waving length is suggested by the IRC. Now, how to estimate the capacity of the rotary intersection? So, capacity of the rotary intersection is estimated using this empirical formula. So, that is 280 W, where W is the waving width and L is the waving length. Here E is the average entry and exit width. So, basically E is E1 plus E2 divided by 2. And here P is the proportion of the waving traffic to the non-waving traffic. So, you have to draw the rotary intersection and the traffic stream, and you have to find out by traffic volume survey that how much proportion of the waving traffic to the non-waving traffic is there. Now, how to validate whether your formula or whether your capacity estimated from the empirical formula is correct or not? Your waving width at the rotary is in between 6 to 18 meters. It should be in between 6 to 18 meters. If it is less than that range, you can consider any value which is in between that range. The ratio of average width of the carriageway at the entry and exit to the waving width in a range of 0.4 to 1. So basically, whatever value is given here, all these values are the limiting value. So after estimating all those values using the formulas given over there, you have to find out whether all of your values are within the range provided by the IRC. So this is all about today's class. You can leave.
$79. নাজানো এতিয়া কিয় বা কমা নাই কিয় বা কমা নাই প্ৰটিন খাব লাগে প্ৰটিন খালে যে চৰ্বি কমে